we're diving into someone really, really crucial, but maybe not always front and center, name-wise, Edward Eddie F. Ferrell.
Oh, absolutely. His influence runs so deep. Lots of people know the stars he worked with. The story behind it, it's about how he kind of built the blueprint for a lot of modern music creation and marketing.
Right. So our mission today is really tracing that path from like a teenager DJing in Mount Vernon all the way to being this major label exec remix pioneer, finding those key moments, those aha moments.
That's right. We've got a good range of sources looking at his whole journey, his time with Heavy D and the Boyz, him setting up that groundbreaking production camp, and then climbing the ladder at places like LaFace and Motown.
Yeah, it's not just music history, is it? It feels like it's about business structure, spotting talent, figuring out how to get real leverage in, a creative industry.
It really is. It's kind of a look at how power works in music. So let's jump in right at the start, the foundation.
Okay, so Eddie F. born Edward Ferrell in Mount Vernon, New York. The sources vary a bit on the date, February or March 1968. But the place, Mount Vernon, that's key. Just outside NYC, and in the 80s, it was becoming this real hotbed for that smooth, sophisticated hip-hop and R&B sound.
That environment was definitely fertile ground, but there's this great story, sort of a turning point for him personally. He's a teenager, here's a DJ at a party, and apparently that was it, like crystal clear moment.
Oh, yeah.
And his mom, seeing how serious he was, she actually took him to get his first proper DJ setup, professional gear.
Wow. And that start, just being a skilled DJ, it wasn't just about playing records, was it? It gave him something extra.
Totally. It meant he understood the crowd, the dance floor, what worked physically, rhythmically, not just what sounded good in headphones. He had that intuition.
That sort of gut feeling for tempo, for flow, that maybe someone who only ever worked in a studio wouldn't quite have.
Exactly right. And that skill, that feel, it led him straight into something big.
Yeah.
Co-founding Heavy D and the Boyz and being their DJ, and they quickly became, a major act for Andre Harrell's Uptown Records, legendary label.
Uptown, they were already doing that slick blend of hip hop and R&B. Must have been the perfect place for him to be, like an incubator.
Perfect timing, perfect place.
And he wasn't just the DJ, right? He was getting writing credits pretty early on too, on tracks like Uptown is Kicking It, Mr. Big Stuff.
Yeah, he was involved creatively and importantly as a partner from early on, not just, the guy spitting records in the background. He was establishing himself as a force.
Okay, so that sets the stage. But then comes the moment he realizes, okay, I can't do this all myself. The demand is getting too big.
Exactly. He needed to scale up his impact, his sound.
And that brings us to the Untouchables Entertainment Group. This feels like the really big conceptual leap. Our sources credit him with basically originating the modern production camp model.
Yeah, this is where he transitions, from artist to architect. It wasn't just a loose collective. It was a system, a structured approach to producing hits.
Okay, explain that structure. Because you hear production camp, and you might just think it's a bunch of talented friends in a studio.
Well, yes and no. It was talented people, think Pete Rock, Dave Hall, Donald Jones, Kenny Green, amazing talents. But Eddie F. provided the framework, the sort of quality control, the overall sonic direction. It was a hub. They could collaborate, share ideas. Writers could jump on different tracks. Producers could focus on their strengths. Pete Rock on samples, for instance. It allowed them to handle multiple projects at once.
So if a big label needed, say, 3 R&B hits for 3 different artists, like yesterday,
instead of hiring 3 separate producers with maybe varying quality or reliability,
they call the Untouchables.
Exactly. You get that signature polished sound, and you get it reliably. It's almost like an industrial process applied to creative work, but in a good way. It guaranteed a certain level of sophistication.
But didn't that create friction? Strong creative personalities all working under one roof, competing for credits, for space.
Yeah, but that's always a potential issue, right? Yeah. But the success suggests his management, his vision, held it together. He knew how to utilize each person's strengths within his overall sound. It was about efficient collaboration, developing ideas together.
And this wasn't just about production, right? It evolved into Untouchables records, too.
Yeah, that was the next logical step. It let him sign and develop artists directly, like Donnell Jones and the group Ian Giroux. So he's moving into A&R, into that executive space. Even while the production camp is firing on all cylinders, he's building the whole pipeline.
Okay, so he's built this machine, this pipeline. And that leads to the next major innovation we need to talk about, the remix.
Yes. Specifically, the featured artist remix, something that feels totally standard now, but back then,
Yeah.
it was a huge shift.
Right, we need to underline this for listeners. Before Eddie F and the Untouchables really systematized this, a remix was often, just a longer club version, maybe slightly different drums.
Pretty much. Maybe an instrumental dub, or just tweaking the existing track. What Eddie F started doing, and what the Untouchables perfected, was taking a hit R&B song.
Usually something smooth, maybe a ballad.
Right. And they'd scrap the entire original music bed, build a completely new beat, often harder, more hip-hop driven, maybe sample heavy.
Okay.
And then crucially, they'd drop a brand new verse from a hot rapper onto this new beat, alongside the original R&B vocals.
So you basically get two different hit songs from one original recording. Hits two different audiences, two radio formats. R&B stations play the original, hip-hop stations play the remix. Genius marketing.
Totally genius. And the benchmark, the one everyone points to as kicking this off, is that 1990 remix of Johnny Gill's Rub You the Right Way.
Right.
The one featuring CL Smooth.
Right.
That track lands, and suddenly the whole industry gets it. This is the new playbook.
It became essential, didn't it? Like, if you were an R&B star in the 90s or 2000s, you had to have that hip-hop featured remix to get maximum exposure, especially on urban radio.
Absolutely mandatory. It just changed how singles were rolled out. And it also showed the sheer power of Eddie F's network.
How so?
Well, look at his compilation album from '94, Eddie F and the Untouchables. Let's get it on. The title track itself is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's on Motown, and he gets Tupac and the Notorious B.I.G. on the same track.
Whoa. Okay. Especially given the East Coast, West Coast tensions later.
Exactly. To get those two, plus Heavy D and Grand Puba all together on one song, it just speaks volumes about his position, his reputation. He was respected across the board. The connector.
The guy who could make that phone call and people would show up, he was like Switzerland, maybe?
Kind of, yeah. Creatively sharp, commercially connected, and that unique combination is really what set him up for the next big step.
Which is the executive suite. Moving from producer to senior management. That seems rare for someone coming purely from the production side.
It is incredibly rare. Usually, producers might get their own vanity label, imprint, or consult, but he went right into the corporate structure making major decisions.
Okay, where did he land first?
First big role was VP of A&R at LaFace Records, mid-90s, reporting directly to L.A. Reid.
LaFace in the mid-90s. I mean, think about that roster.
Right, he's not just making beats anymore. He's involved in the strategy, the A&R for Usher, Outkast, TLC, Goody Mob, Tony Braxton. These are artists defining the sound of the decade globally.
He's helping shape careers, not just songs. That's a different kind of power.
Huge power. And then he leveled up again. Around 95 to 97, he moves over to Motown Records as Executive Vice President of A&R.
Motown. So now he's dealing with legacy acts, too.
Absolutely. Overseeing projects for legends like Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, managing the ongoing success of Boyz II Second Men, and still signing new talent like Mario Winans.
Okay, this is the crucial part, I think. He has his Untouchables production engine churning out hits and developing talent. And simultaneously, he's inside two of the biggest labels in roles where he influences who gets signed, how big their budgets are, what singles get pushed. He's controlling taste from both ends.
That's exactly it. He had creative control through his camp and budgetary and strategic control from the executive chair. Think about that. A producer now green-lighting budgets for like a Goody Mob album or a Tony Braxton follow-up. He wasn't just asking for resources, he was allocating them.
He became the gatekeeper, but a gatekeeper who actually understood the streets, the studio, the artist's perspective.
Precisely. A very rare combination.
So let's try to distill his legacy, his signature. If you hear an Eddie F track or something heavily influenced by him, what are the key elements?
Okay, I'd say three main things jump out. First, that really smooth, sophisticated blend of hip-hop and R&B, taking hip-hop's rhythmic edge and polishing it with R&B melody and vocals. That defines so much of the East Coast sound and making it huge for the mainstream.
Got it. Number two.
Second, his commitment to talent nurturing. The Untouchables camp wasn't just about hits, it was like an academy. Look at Donald Jones came through the camp, later has that massive hit, You Know What's Up, or his early work developing Pete Rock and CL Smooth. His legacy isn't just his own discography, it's the careers he helped launch.
Right, building an infrastructure for others.
Yeah, and that model, the production camp structure, people still use variations of it today because he proved how effective it could be for consistency and scale.
Okay, so that's the legacy. But Eddie F isn't just history. what's he up to now? How's he adapting to today's, completely different music world?
Well, he's still evolving, which isn't surprising. He does executive consulting. He definitely still DJs, keeps that connection to the dance floor energy, which seems core to him. But the big new thing is his involvement with a label called Afro America Unlimited.
Okay, and what's the focus there?
It's focused squarely on Afro beats and developing emerging global talent, particularly from Africa and the diaspora.
Wow, that feels like a perfect full circle somehow.
Doesn't it? He's applying those same core principles. Spot the emerging sound, nurture the talent, bring that high-level production polish, but now to this huge global wave of Afro beats. It shows his model, his approach, still works.
So reflecting on this whole journey, it feels like there are some really clear takeaways, maybe 6 core lessons from his career that could apply to anyone trying to build something lasting in music or any creative field, really.
Yeah, let's break those down. First, start with passion, build that core skill. For him, it was DJing. That foundation gave him everything else.
Okay. Second, build a team, a collective. The Untouchables show that structured collaboration under a clear vision is how you scale and dominate.
But listen, innovate in the structure, not just the sound. The featured artist remix wasn't just a cool idea, it changed the entire industry's marketing process. It became standard practice.
Yeah, good point. Fourth, you need to bridge the creative side and the business side. Moving into those exec roles gave him the control over resources, the real leverage.
Fifth, developing talent matters for legacy. His impact is multiplied by the successful careers of people like Donald Jones, Pete Rock, people who came through his system.
And finally, sixth, you have to adapt and evolve. Going from 90s R&B and hip-hop to embracing Afro beats now. That shows you gotta keep learning, keep applying your skills to what's next.
Absolutely. We've talked a lot about how Eddie F managed to control both the creative side with Untouchables and the commercial side with his executive roles. That combination was key to his power.
Right.